All right, straight up, and all the 8 o'clock people are here. So I say we nail it. We had some other acceptees, but let's get going on this. So, first of all, this is interactive, okay? This is about you. So, this is designed really to answer your questions about what's going on with Autotask, what are we doing, what are we inflicting on you, and that kind of stuff. You will not know everything about Autotask at the completion of this session, as we do not know everything about Autotask. As we are debriefing concerning the purchase of Autotask, what we found was that Autotask is a bit of an elephant gun. And, well, we mostly hunt squirrel, but as we've gotten into this implementation, we're finding out that, well, I guess we do occasionally go for an elephant. So it's a big thing. I'm going to write down what's in scope for this. And we have a deployment that we're looking at doing on the 18th, which is conveniently a Friday, which means we can really screw up and then use the weekend to recover from that and actually be in production on Monday. There are a couple of gotchas in that, so I'm not going to promise you that date, but that is the date that we're targeting for. And so anyway, let's look at what's in scope. So this is this iteration. We'll have multiple iterations of Autotask. How many have idle? How many of you guys have done that? 1, 2, 3. Hey, sweet. Okay, we're nearing the 50% mark. Okay, so what's in it are basically going to be. I'm going to put tickets. Okay, so we're going to have that. That means, what are we going to do with tickets? We're going to do what we do today, okay, with tickets. We're going to do problem management. Okay, and those of you who have idle know that this is really about maybe 10% of what we really should be doing in IT, but it's a start. We're going to eat the elephant a bite at a time. And we're taking a couple of bites to start with. What's out of scope, really for the thing, are change requests, change management, in other words. What's out of scope is knowledge management. Okay, we'll have a flavor of knowledge management in there, but as I learned many years ago, knowledge management, you may have a repository for it, but what you do with it is, and how you accumulate it and how you make it available, that's a whole exercise. And we actually have a person to do that. Some of you have met her. Her name is Shazadi, and she's going to be working on accumulating everything that's in your heads. So there will be, like a brain dump at the end of class. She's coming with a helmet, and then we'll have everything in knowledge management. Really? Okay. So anyway, so that's out of scope. That's out of scope. What else do we have out of scope? We got a lot of things out of scope.
Client portal.
Yeah. Portal. Yeah. Okay. So this little implementation here, we're basically turning on for faculty support, right? And we're going to turn on for IT help. So we got a couple little organizations. Big thing out of scope, and if Adam's listening downstairs, he's going, no, really, I wanted that. So what big thing out of scope is projects. Okay, and I'll get a little bit more into projects as we go along, and why on earth we would want projects, and it's really interesting in this case. So, with that said, okay.
Just wondering what caught my eye back there.
Thought it was him.
I'm going to say, what do we do today? What we do today is we do a lot of things right. As you guys went through training and idle, you figured out we were doing a lot of things right. We've got SharePoint, and in SharePoint, what do? We have tickets. Same darn thing that we're gonna have an auto task, right? Okay, so good for us. We do tickets, we capture things going on. And then what we do is occasionally, when things go really south, we make an STP. Okay? And usually this is a collection of arduous meetings that everybody wants to escape from as soon as possible. So, yeah, we're doing this stuff. We even do knowledge management. We've got a wiki out there. And then somewhere back there, I think I saw some barroom napkins up in the cubicles that say how to resolve stuff. So we're doing some knowledge management, all the fundamentals we do. We even do, and this is the interesting part, we even do escalation. We even do SLAs. And the way we do SLAs today is we go through the tickets, and I've seen Eric do this, we go through the tickets a couple of times a day and go, oh no, drop that one here. Okay. We do SLAs in the fact that if Dean Menon calls, that we're all over it. Or if Susan Meyer, when she used to call, we're there right away. So our SLAs are kind of who yells the loudest. And then we have an SLA that goes, if it's classroom, then we drop everything and we come to the rescue. If it's CRM, we ignore it until next month and hope it goes away. So, I mean, we have some different service levels for different people. So all that stuff is happening today, but we could do it better. And that's the whole point of Autotask. So why Autotask? I think a lot of you know this, but I'll go over it for those of you who don't. So we took a look at a lot of different systems, about a half a dozen all told that I can recall. And pretty much the systems out there, they do a lot of the same things. I mean, it's all the same principles. Some have more of an idle flavor than others. Some do change management, some don't. Some have stronger management than others. We looked at, as you all know, we looked at deploying Zendesk, which is a very nice UI, very intuitive, but it was lacking a few things. It was lacking some of the robustness of Autotask. Most importantly, our attorneys couldn't figure out how to deal with them, so we didn't buy their product, okay? So that's one good reason. But we found something else, and this is as we were talking about our service organization, what do we want to do with it? Well, what we want to do with the service organization is we want to make it scalable, okay? And we want to expand our services. We want to make it better over time and able to do more. In addition to doing things better, okay, it has to be scalable. So there were a couple of different ways we could approach this. One, we could pack our limited space with even more people and work them around the clock. Richie didn't volunteer for that. I don't know why, but that was one approach. The other approach is to try and leverage outside services and entities to do two things. One, expand our hours of support, be able to do around-the-clock stuff, or if we truly do global, international, or whatever, or doing some really stuff like that, somebody else can do it, okay? We can go to bed and sleep well at night and know that in the morning things aren't going to fall apart. Well, that implies partners, okay? And we've talked to several of them. There was one in here, I can't remember their names, maybe you can, that was maybe a little not quite what we had in mind. And then one John tried last year, which didn't work at all. So, you know, it's a dance trying to get the right partner. But what we did, we looked around, and a surprising number of these people use Autotask. So that became really a major criteria for the thing. We'd like to turn on multiple partners and be able to talk to them. So the connectivity became a huge thing, a huge criteria for selection in this. And one of the things you can do with Autotask is it talks very robustly to other Autotask systems, even though they're owned by different entities. The communication goes back and forth. The queues become, it's really invisible of who has the ticket. So you could take a ticket at midnight, they could work it until 8 o'clock in the morning, and then we come in, and the ticket could come over to our queues, and we could work it until 5 o'clock and then pass it back. And that ticket continues to have its continuity. So that's a huge, huge thing. The reason why we'd have auto task. And then if you're really awake, if you haven't gone to sleep at 8 in the morning, I wouldn't blame you. Then the next question in your mind is, well, what about vendors that don't have auto task? Well, as it turns out, Autotask did a really good job, and there actually is a portal where if you have, say, Zendesk at a vendor, that web service is very capable and able to import and export tickets, and does a nice job doing that. So, with that said, apologies for the UI. I have seen much better UIs, and Zendesk is the primary example in the help world. Haven't seen a better one. But we have a good UI in this, and I think over time you'll become comfortable with it. Hi. Welcome. So, let's take a look at, I wanted to cover this. This is one of my favorites. Right here. Dr. Deming, remember him from your IDLE training? Okay. In God we trust, all others bring data. That's a primary driver for doing our system. Because our data right now is we're manually calling through SharePoint, producing some reports, and doing our best to cobble together figures from many different directions. And that is a strength of a help desk tool, is basically it puts all the data in one place. There's some nice canned reports and dashboards, and you can actually see what's going on real time versus post-mortem after the fact, can't react, this is what happened. This also enables us to do better. Where are patterns of failure? Okay. Where are areas of success? How are we truly responding? Okay. Things like that become evident with a tool like Autotask. So that's one of the primary drivers, is to collect actionable data. Data is no good if we're just collecting it to collect it. Data is good if we can take action. So we're going to see how some of the issue codes in here, issue types, enable us to improve our service. And for those of you who are IDLE folks, it's all about continuing service improvement, right? Okay, so that's what we're doing. So let's take a look at where you guys are going to live for the most part. Let's look at the screen, Jim, if you can pull it up, that has to do with just basic ticket capture, which is in scope for us in this go-around.
So everybody in here has an account created. I can get you that information. Basically, it's your College of Business email address, and your password is 12345. Please go in and change it immediately. When you open up, depending on what level of access you have, will decide what you see along this top row. For instance, none of you guys are going to see admin, so this top row will be a little bit different. If you come over here to home, go to my profile, and let's see. In here is where you can change the password. I don't want to get too far into that right now because we're more concerned about showing you guys how to use how to create a ticket. So the main place you're going to be is either here in home, or you're going to be over here in the service desk module. This menu bar here on the left, you can close it out if you want to. I've found that it's incredibly handy to have it open. So I just leave that open at all times. If you look down here, the big things you're going to notice here are the My Workspace. These are your tickets that are assigned specifically to you. Is that legible, or is that kind of small back there? And then you have your queues down here. So everybody is assigned to at least one queue. Faculty support or IT help. Some of you, like Richie, has 4 queues because you have 4 different areas, and it's broken down. So a queue is like faculty support, IT help, web services, production has a queue, CRM, that sort of thing. And it's your queue membership is based upon what your job function is. And that's already been pre-selected and pre-set up. So in order to create a new ticket, You can do it several ways. You can come up here and highlight the service desk and do new ticket. You can hit this little button here, or you can do this again. One thing about AutoTask, just like Windows, is there's about 10 ways to do everything. So the key is just to find out which way you prefer. So we're going to come in here and open up a new ticket. The first thing you'll notice is that there's a running clock over here in this corner. This is for time entry. One of the things that AutoTask allows us to do is it allows us to capture how much time we're spending on each ticket. That way and there's a whole bunch of different things we can do with that information. So be aware, if you've got a ticket open, it is running. You can come down here and you can pause it. If you're gonna leave it open and go to lunch and you don't wanna record time on that ticket, you can go ahead and pause that. And then you can come back here and kick it open when you're going again. This is kind of handy if you're gonna go over to Rockwell North or something and deal with something, you can open it up on your desktop just like this and let it run and come back, and that way you don't have to do time entry. You can just say, okay, I was gone for an hour and a half and that's how much time I spent on the issue, and my time is recorded.
So let's talk a little bit about time. What are we going to do with time? So, well, here's the bad news is you don't get bonuses for extra time. Sorry, I already covered that with John. But what we're going to do with time is this will enable us, because we're capturing it, it enables us to go back to our customers and say, hey, did you know we spent 46 hours and 23 minutes basically coming up and showing you how to start your computer? Maybe you should go to class, okay? So we'll be able to figure out, this adds the quantitative measure in terms of the effort that we are spending. Huge thing, huge thing to be able to have the ability to talk to your customers and say, this is where you're spending your time. And we could do things differently if you guys, and I picked the user error thing because it's my favorite. If you guys would just get smarter, then we would save this much time and could do things better for you. And Erica's smiling back there, I see you. So, okay,
So anything in the ticket that has a red asterisk next to it, like this right here, is a required field, and it will not allow you to save it unless that field is populated. Starting at the very top, we have the ability to put in templates. Templates make life a lot easier because it allows us to pre-populate certain areas, so we don't really have to think as much about it. As a test, I put in a template for the red button classroom issue. When you hit that, you'll notice that several fields that are required auto-populate. We've got ticket title, which is the red button classroom. Here in the ticket description, we have the escalation path, just in case. And then down at the bottom is an opportunity to put in what the issue is. The status is in progress. It's the priority is set to critical. The SLA is set to incident. And then this information over here is filled in. We'll get to that in a little bit more. So that's just an example of a template.
Share templates with others?
Yes, you can do two things. We can either create system-wide templates, or you can create your own favorite.
I noticed that one side.
Yeah. If you create your own favorite, you're the only one that's going to see it. If we create a system-wide template, then everybody who has access to AutoTask will see it. So my preference is to create ones that everybody will see, because it will make everybody just a little bit more efficient. So yeah, we can definitely do that. So opening a new ticket, account name. This is one of those things where we're going to have to get our terminology straight. Basically, account is the same thing as a department. So there's two ways to pull up information here. You can either start typing, and it'll pull up whatever it finds. So for instance, this is the dean's office. The other way is if you're not quite sure, because we have a lot of departments. This is based upon how HR breaks down billing and cost centers and whatnot. If you hit this button here, here's all the different departments we can choose from. As you can see, that's quite a list. Everybody, all the faculty and staff will be in one of these departments. Unfortunately, we have to search department before we can search for the user. So we have to, if you don't know what department the user is in, I'll show you a workaround for that here in just a minute, but I kind of want to keep this initial one pretty simple. We haven't loaded all the customer data in just yet, so I'm going to use a test that we've done so far. And once you choose the account name, then the contact name field is able to be used. This information over here is not exactly accurate because I don't really know that they have a department phone number. But if you click on the contact name here, you can choose this person and you see information for that person here. You see the phone number, you see the email address and whatnot. If it's a new person, you can hit new and you can create a new contact. But we won't get into that too much right now.
So let me talk about accounts for a minute, if I may, Jim.
Okay.
So accounts, it's kind of an odd concept. It has huge value to us because remember we talked about, well, okay, so I can put in my hours on a ticket. Well, this associates, who is associated with those hours? Okay, and this is a fundamental construct because a lot gets driven off of this. What I'm trying to tell you is be careful who you select up an account, okay, because this enables us to say, CIS, you consumed this much of our resources, okay, or we had this many service breaches for you this month. So this is our communication tool with the departments. And what's going to happen on the back end of this is we're actually going to cost out our services and send them a mock bill for our services each month. So it establishes the value proposition with our customer. This is what you're getting. This is how much you've used. So be careful how you use this. It has impacts downstream. They truly are accounts. They truly get bills. Now, they pay them? Of course not. Okay. But ultimately, it allows us to communicate with them, and it allows us to see where are we spending our money, where are our problem areas, and enables us to quantify it. And the little slide we put up about dimming, that's exactly it. This is data, okay, which enables us to communicate and act. So careful how you use that. Really important.
Okay.
Thank you for the commercial.
Kind of going back to the time thing.
Okay.
Is there a way to edit your time?
Yep.
Say you're, a lot of times we get pulled in by other people doing a different ticket. So if I want to go back and edit my time to take some off of that
Yep.
specific account.
After we create and save this ticket, I will show you how to go back and edit it with notes and as well as time. Amanda?
Is there a plan for somebody to enter contact names before we start using this, or are we gonna have to?
We are importing them.
We are importing them. We're working on massaging the data and getting everybody correct. And I don't think we will go live until we have that information entered in.
You mentioned that there was an alternate way to kind of access the contact names without having to go through their department, because some of the departments, like specifically in North Rock, there's
You don't know.
15 to 20 departments over there.
We'll get to that here in just a minute.
Okay.
I kind of want to show the basics of creating a ticket first, and then we'll get into a little bit of how the kind of the customization of how we're going to do it. So the ticket title is just a quick statement of what the issue is.
Oh, could we go back up one field, Jim?
Oh yeah, I forgot the source field.
So this is really cool. Okay, so this says where do we get all this stuff? Okay, and up at the top you'll notice the first one is client portal, and I don't know. Can you bring up the client portal?
It's not activated.
Okay, all right. Well, imagine a great portal. Where the customer comes in and he sees basically, hey, I want to enter a ticket or some sort or another. I want a service request or I want to enter an incident. And I had 5 active tickets. What's going on with that? Well, right now, instead of calling Calvin, what can happen there is they can just go online and see what's going on with their ticket. So we cut down a lot of the traffic. We cut down a lot of the mystery in terms of did their ticket go into a black hole with a portal. We are, I think, not deploying the portal in our first go-around, but probably our second. And there's a bit of debate about that, whether that's good or not. And it's not the portal. Portal's very easy to turn on, immensely easy to turn on. Just we just did that yesterday for fun. And it's more of the socialization of Autotask that we want to do carefully with our customers. So as we do that, we'll turn on the portal, put the PR out, and then you'll start getting tickets in with that. This thing's integrated with email, okay? So we can get inbound email once Exchange is hooked up, which is another criteria for going live. And then that email itself creates a ticket with the appropriate subject in there.
Yeah, so you'll choose the appropriate source. This one we're going to call phone. Here in the ticket description field, this is where you want to describe everything that's going on, any troubleshooting steps you take when you're on the phone, that sort of thing, when you create the ticket. If you need to see the entire field, this little icon over here will expand the ticket details, and just makes it easier to see the full ebb and flow. It allows attachments. You can copy and paste. Really easy stuff in there. Important information, you'll notice here below, all of it is asterisk. This is very important that we're using this to track SLAs and also to do reporting on. So if you come down here, the status of a ticket, obviously when a ticket comes in, it's new. When you start working on it, it is in progress. If you've called the customer back and you're waiting for them to call, you would put the ticket in status of waiting on the customer. What this does is this pauses the SLA, so time doesn't count against it because you're waiting on the customer. There's nothing you can really do. If the ticket is on hold for whatever reason, the customer is out of town for a week and there's no point in, you don't want to close it, but you don't want time to count against it. You can put it on hold. Complete is when it's done. That closes the ticket. Workaround, if you're able to fix it, but you weren't really able to fix it. I mean, you're able to get them back working, but you didn't really fix the issue because there's a known problem or whatnot. You can use workaround. Unable to reach customer, the 3 strikes your rule or 3 strikes you're out rule. You can use that one. All of these from complete below to below are closure codes. All of these close the ticket. Withdrawn by customer, if they say, hey, it started working again, you guys don't need to come on up. You can withdraw it. And then if they ask for something that we don't do, you close it with withdrawn, unsupported. I don't know how often we'll use that, but it's good to know that we have that there in case.
You should probably explain the 3 strikes you're out rule. I don't think everyone knows that.
3 strikes you're out. So if a user calls in a ticket or emails in a ticket, you make 3 attempts to contact them, either through phone, email, or in person. You document each one of those, and if they never respond to you, then you send them one final email that says we're closing the ticket. If you're still having issues, please contact IT again. That way we're not sitting there for a month waiting for a user to get back with us.
Is there a way to auto-generate that?
I can look into that. There's a lot of automation that can be done. That's pretty advanced stuff, so we'll have to look into that a little bit down the road. The priority, you guys should be somewhat familiar with this. We have critical, high, medium, and low. Critical is classroom issues, needs to get on right away. High is, we'll get into that a little bit later. I kind of want to show you more of the functionality, some of the definitions we can get to.
So one thing you want to be careful on the priority is this drives SLA, key component of it.
Yep. So if you select a critical ticket, you've got 2 hours to fix it, and it's gonna. And when you get to 2 hours and it isn't closed, it's gonna start sending out alarms. High, I believe, is 5 hours. Medium is 3 business days, and low is 5 business days. So make sure that you choose that one correctly. Otherwise, all sorts of bells and alarms are gonna go off. Generally speaking, medium is the default. It means you've got 5 hours to get back to the user and 3 days to resolve it. Those are just for routine things.
So let me put in a plug here. So what's going on with this? That's SLA for non-ITEL folks. You recognize it if you are. So what's going on there is we are forming a steering committee, and the steering committee should be the one negotiating SLAs with us. SLAs are very interesting because they drive our alert mechanisms. They determine how successful we are, whether we've had a service breach or not, whether we've honored our commitment to the users. We are imputing SLAs based on tribal knowledge, really. Those need to be blessed, and then we need to, as we'll see a little later in the form here when we get to it, we need to enter into a contract with them, which basically says, this is what we agreed to do. So anyway.
Okay. The due date should be set by the SLA that is chosen. And then down here, as far as the SLA, you choose either service request or incident, depending on what the ticket actually is.
Real quick,
Yes, sir.
so you mean that after we select a priority, it'll auto-populate the due date?
Yeah, so what it's supposed to do is it's supposed to take the, the start date, and then when you choose the SLA, it's supposed to, as far as the due date and time, it's supposed to change that to,
Okay.
yeah.
Cool.
And then, of course, if it's at 4 o'clock in the afternoon and it's critical, it's going to show the resolution time to be 9 o'clock on the next day because our business hours are 8 to 5. That is, I still have to work on getting that configured correctly. The other thing that's very important for us as far as reporting goes is this section right here, the ticket type, issue type, and sub-issue type. Ticket type is going to be either service request, an incident, problem, or a change request when we get to that point. As we all know, incident is something that was working is no longer working, and we need to restore it as soon as possible. A service request is I would like to have something that I don't have now, like a piece of software, a piece of hardware. I'd like access to a shared folder. That sort of thing is a service request. A problem and change we'll get to in the next iteration as we get more into that. But if the people who have taken idle know what that's all about.
So critical thing here, service request measures the overall health, incident measures the overall health of our environment to a very large extent. So if something is broken, okay, if something is not working the way it's supposed to work, then that is an incident. If a routine thing like, hey, could you change my password? Or could you give me a cable for my monitor? Stuff that is normally what we do, nothing's broken, everything's okay, that would be a service request. With respect to change request, it is something different. It is some change in our environment that somebody wants to have happen. And that is driven by a process which is currently not in scope, will be very, very soon. And we are tracking changes across our environment because one of the things that this software does is it characterizes our environment and how it works. So huge difference in not only SLAs, but huge difference in how it portrays the overall health and condition of our environment. So link together what we've done earlier in this thing, where we've talked about who's asking for the service, how are we doing time-wise, what do they want us to do, and how do we perform in comparison to what our support agreements are.
Okay.
Thank you for the commercial.
So issue type, this will be a very large list. As you can see, it's categorized by things like classroom, hardware, ordering, production, software, and telecom. That's what we have in there now. This list is growing as we meet with people in different areas. So,
Could you bring up that spreadsheet?
yeah, I'll bring that up here in just a minute.
Picture.
But we're going to say that the problem is that there's a printer issue. And then whatever you put in here will determine what comes up in the sub-issue type. You've got either break fix, network, order, that sort of thing, paper jam. You choose that. But obviously, if you choose ordering, the sub-issue type field is going to be different. So make sure that the first time you create the ticket, this is your best guess as to what the issue is. When you go in and close the ticket, you're going to want to go back in and make sure that you characterize that as what it actually was. So this will come in handy, or you'll need to work on this when you create the ticket and then when it's also closed. You can put the estimated hours in here, but there's really no need to. Well, yeah, you can just leave that one blank. The ticket assignment, now, especially for the help desk folks, this is important because this is where the ticket routing comes in. We mentioned the queues before. This is where you select the queue that it's going to go into. Again, we have the queues broken down by the different departments within IT. So if it's going to go to faculty support, you can choose that. If it's going to go to infrastructure, all the different groups are in here. And like I said, some people like Richie, and I think Christine are both in multiple queues, so is Crystal. Any ticket, it's going to show all your tickets regardless of what queue is assigned to you. So right now we're just going to put it in faculty support. You can leave it at that. You don't necessarily have to assign it to a specific person, but if you want to, then you can come down here and select a queue or a resource. And again, this is going to be everybody within IT that has an account is in this list. So, you know, usually if you're going to assign it to a queue, like faculty support, you're just going to leave this one blank. Otherwise, you can assign it to somebody. Let's see, who do we got here? I'm going to give it to Amanda. And then you can also choose secondary resources. This is handy if other people need to see the status of the ticket, or if there's going to be a handoff, you know, with student employees, you know, if employee A is going to work on it until 11, but then at 11:15, employee B is going to take it over, you can put that other person in here as a secondary resource. Again, it's not required, and you can do multiple people as a secondary resource. The primary resource is still the one that's responsible for it. The secondary resource is just will be notified of the ticket and kind of notified of the status. Configuration item, we're not going to do much with that right now. That will be probably in the second iteration. Yes, Crystal?
What if it gets assigned to the wrong queue?
Then,
Or does it have to be handoff or?
if it's assigned to the wrong queue, you can. So you only see tickets that are in your queue, but you can search for any ticket, and any ticket that's in the system you can open up and look at. So if you know the ticket number, you can go in and find it and assign it to the right queue, kind of pull it to your queue. Or if you're in the queue and you notice that it's in web services, but it should be in faculty support, you can forward it to that queue correctly. You'll notice down here under billing that there is a required field, which is called work type. We'll get more in depth with this in the next iteration, but right now it'll be either general support, emergency classroom, or, you know, purchasing. So just pick whatever's closest. Like I said, a lot of these are default, and we're not doing a whole lot with them just yet, but it is a required field, so you do have to put something in there.
Mostly this field drives reporting,
Yep.
so it's not metrics that we get out of the system and what kinds of things do we do. Very strong capability there.
Okay.
Moral of the story is the temptation on these types of systems is rush through, slam the ticket, get in the description, and hit save. But if you execute maybe 30 seconds of additional thought behind the recording of the ticket, the output that we get from this is just tremendous.
The resolution field, obviously, whatever you do to resolve the issue, if it's first call or if it's later, you're going to put it in here. You want to be as thorough as possible, what you did, troubleshooting steps, resolution steps, that sort of thing. Notification, anytime you create a ticket, that person who is the contact name that we did at the very beginning, there's going to be an email chain that goes back and forth with them. Every time the email goes out, it'll have the ticket number in the subject line. Anything that you enter in there will be in the email. And if they email back, their response goes into the ticket automatically. So it's a very handy feature. It helps to limit some of the communication errors that we have historically. Down here, you can choose to notify additional people if you feel it's necessary. If you need to include their boss or another resource, you know, anybody within IT, you can add anybody out of the contact list here, different resources. Resources are internal IT people who have accounts in Autotask. So you can choose any of those people. You don't necessarily have to, but you can. You can even put external emails. I don't know why you would, but you know, if you wanted to include Tony Frank on an email, you probably could. Might not want to. And then you can choose a ticket template. We're still working on those, so I'm not going to show you too much about the ticket or the email templates at this point. But you can choose multiple emails. And then additional email text. Anything you put in here will be in the email, but it won't save it into the ticket. So you can do all that. And then when you're done with that, you can come up here and save it. Tickets created. Here's your ticket number. This is what was emailed out to the customer. And then this is, when you open up a ticket, this is what you see. So I'm going to close this for a second. If you come down here to your queues, you'll see that there is a ticket in. Should be one in fact support here.
Yep.
So what's emailed to the customer, just the ticket number, or?
And the description that whatever you put in the description field for the ticket is in there as well.
Okay, so do they get like an update when you update the ticket, or?
Mm-hmm.
They do?
Yep. Christine?
Will it be able to send satisfaction surveys?
Yes, we will do surveys out of here. We're still working on what kind of information we want to get capture. There's some canned ones, and there's also some custom. So we'll be doing surveys, and we also need to decide the frequency. So we come down here, and you see that there is a ticket here in the faculty support queue. So I'm going to open this up. You can either click on the ticket number, you can right-click on it, and enter all this stuff. So we're just basically opening up the ticket and working with the ticket. You've got the information in here. You've got the description. You've got the status and all that information we put in there. If you needed to add a time entry, you can come in here and click Add Time Entry. And you resource, general support role. Role is a way, so if we had multiple duties, like some person did faculty support and they also did infrastructure, and we billed a customer at different rates, that's where you would choose a different role. Right now, we're going to leave role as it's assigned to you at this point. We're not going to change that. You can change the status here, date, time, you just leave that as it is. The one you'll want to do is right here is hours worked. You can cancel out of that field. You can put 2 hours. You can put any summary notes in here, what you did during that 2 hours, that sort of thing. And that information will be sent to the customer. The internal notes will not be sent to the customer. Those will only be seen by people in IT. So we can say, hey, look, I saw that, customer A was having a problem with this, and, it might be a good idea to train them on that. You don't necessarily want the customer to see that, but you want somebody else in IT to see that, or save it kind of for later. You can do that right there. Again, you can there's a notification if you want to, depending on who you want to notify. And then so you hit save and close. Oops. Summary notes is a required field. And you'll notice down here at the bottom that it was added to the status of the ticket. So everything, the history of the ticket will be shown down here.
And it also sends an email.
Yeah, it'll send out an email every time you update a ticket. And if that becomes burdensome and the users get ticked off about that, we can change it. Sometimes some of these systems can get a little spammy with email like that. If you have any, we're not going to do charges and expenses. Service calls, we're not going to get into that too much right now. Changes, that sort of thing. So if you see a ticket, you open up a ticket and you realize, hey, this is assigned to the wrong resource, you've got different things up here that you can do. Again, There's 10 different ways to do anything within Autotask. But one of the things that will be big is either completing the ticket, or this little arrow right here is you can forward that ticket to somebody. Say it went to the wrong queue. We need to come down here and assign it to IT help because they need to do that. So you can choose that queue there. You can remove who it's supposed to go to because that person isn't in that queue. And then you can, once you save and close it, it's going to change it. It's going to forward that queue over to the IT help, and it's no longer going to be in the faculty support queue. So that's how you would manage if a ticket got misrouted.
So right now, you're probably overwhelmed with features and wondering, how am I going to master this on day one? And the answer is going to be there, help you enter tickets, help you do it right. If we don't do it right, it's not a big thing. You'll master this over a week, probably, and be able to do the fundamental stuff that Jim is showing. And we're going to layer in capability as we go along. So if you look 2 months down the road, 3 months down the road, you'll be using the full feature set quite comfortably. The mission for this first iteration is get a ticket in reasonably well. Okay, the end of the world is not going to occur because the data is inaccurate on the ticket. This is pretty much a learning process for us all, so don't panic, please.
Okay. Then to close the ticket, you can either click on this button here, or you can come over here to edit. I'm gonna hit the complete ticket here. And you'll see it'll look a little bit differently if you do the complete ticket versus edit. But what you're going to do is you notice here the status has been changed from in progress to complete. The summary notes, again, that's what you did to resolve the issue, so be as verbose as you need to be. You can put in the hours worked here again. Again, notify if you want to notify anybody of this, that sort of thing. And then when you hit save and close, the ticket is closed and it's no longer in the queue. You don't. They get a completion email that says ticket has been completed, and then they see what you have in the resolution field as well. I did want to show you real quick how to find. Remember, I told you before that you have to know the account first before you can find the person. So the way that you find the person is you come up here to CRM, and you come down to, crap, where was that? Sorry. Contacts. So you'll see that when you choose a different section up here, it changes your menu over here on the left. So you've got CRM, Customer Relations Management. You choose Contacts. You can also search up here in this Find area. And actually, I think that's probably the easiest way to do it. I think you can do that from anywhere. In fact, yeah, you can find this from anywhere. So find contact last name. Here's your contact. When you have your contact list here, if you right-click on it, crap, I think you have to open the tick. You have to open the contact, and then you can do new. Why does this look different then? Sorry about that. You can do new ticket. Okay, so let's pretend like I didn't show you any of that already. So, like I said, it is a little bit of a haphazard process. We're looking to see how we can streamline it, make it a little bit more efficient. But you open up the contact, come over here to tickets, and then all tickets that are open and closed from this person you can see, so you can see what their history is. But you come over here and then do new. You can new ticket, incident ticket, problem ticket, but you click that and it brings you back to this window here. And it has all this auto-populated. It has their account as well as their contact name. Does that make sense? So The main areas that you're going to be spending your time are either going to be either here at home. This kind of shows you all your tickets. We can assign things like to-dos. If you need to email somebody back at a certain time, you can set up a to-do. Like I said, I don't know if we have time to get into that. If you have service calls and whatnot, and that will come in a little bit later. So there's the home. The other place that you're going to spend a lot of time is going to be in service desk. And that's where you see, under my workspace, you see all your closed tickets, your overdue tickets. If you've submitted a ticket yourself, you'll see it here. And then the queues that you're assigned to. You've got unassigned tickets here, and then you've got all tickets in the queue. So you notice this IT help has one down here but doesn't have any up here. It's because that ticket's assigned to somebody, but it's still in your queue. Christine?
So are we gonna be using the calendar within the first few weeks or not? Is Outlook still for calendar?
Yeah, we're working on getting the Exchange integration working. But one of the cool things about this that will come in very handy for us is we have, there's a dispatch module, and this is going a little bit further than what we're going to do right off. But if you come up here to dispatch, this is a way to say, okay, we set an appointment to set up the microphones in room 118, tomorrow at 8:30. So you come into dispatch, and this shows the faculty support team. When we're fully integrated with Exchange, it will show each resource's Exchange calendar in here, so you can see when they're in class, when they're at work. So you can come in and say, okay, Amanda is in the office at 8:30, so I'm going to go ahead and assign that ticket to her to go ahead and do it. Calvin's not here, so I'm not going to assign it to him. And what that does is that puts an appointment on your calendar, and hopefully it should help us to get away from having your calendar spammed with meeting invites that you're not going to be able to make. Like I said, that's a feature that's coming soon. We haven't had a chance to look at it too much because the Exchange integration isn't completely ready yet, but that's one of the kind of the cool features that is part of this is scheduling. So as long as everybody's calendars are up to date with your work times and whatnot, that'll help to make this as accurate as possible.
So this is a prerequisite for us going live. So when we flip the switch, Exchange will be integrated. That has not happened yet. So we have 3 critical events going on that drive our go live date. The first one is Exchange, which I just mentioned. Second would be the import of our customers. Okay. And then the third one is configuration items. Will also be in there. So it should be a pretty powerful tool set for you. Expect to be bewildered the first week. It's okay. I would like to, with your kind permission, we have a few minutes.
We got a couple questions. Okay. Steve?
When bad data gets in this database, who is responsible for removing it, fixing it, or does everybody have editing capability?
Everybody has.
For instance, a name, a phone number, a title, whatever.
So contact information, anybody can edit that. If we needed to delete a ticket, like if a ticket was created by accident or something like that, the only people that can delete a ticket are people that have admin access.
Okay.
Right now that's me and Russ and a couple other people. But generally speaking, you don't want to delete tickets. It's better to, correct them and close them, but sometimes you do need to delete a ticket, and we have that capability.
Are we gonna have some kind of documentation on this, so when a new employee comes?
I'm working on that right now. And that definitely will be, and that, we have a knowledge base. Let me show you the basic knowledge base. Service desk. So if you come down here on this menu, when you're in service desk, we've got a knowledge base. It's searchable right now. The only 2 articles that we have in there are process-based articles. You can print them out, or you just kind of look through that escalation path. And if there's anything wrong in a knowledge base article, you can suggest improvements. This is, what's that?
Manages the knowledge base?
You have,
Shazzy is our knowledge manager.
Okay, that's okay.
So her job is to come bug you and to get information from you and then to present it in the knowledge base. So she obviously does not know the things that you guys know from a day-to-day basis. Her job is to capture that, codify, and present.
Okay.
Does this interface with CRM at all? So are we going to load all of our contacts, or is it?
You know, where that is a prerequisite to us going live is the contacts need to be loaded.
Okay,
Yeah.
and when new people start, is that something, who's gonna load the new people? And take people off when they leave?
Okay, so that's a matter of procedure. Okay, we do not have that procedure defined.
Okay, but it will be one person, it's not like.
It will be controlled and predictable. I don't know if that's one person or two person or how that's gonna work. But yes, very good point, keeping it up to date after we have it going.
and that'll be the same thing with knowledge management. You know, most knowledge management systems, everybody, you rush and you get everything put in, but then nobody does anything with the data after that. So a process changes when we go from Windows 7 to Windows 8, and you know, nothing ever gets updated. So that will be something that will have to be defined as well, as how do we keep our data current. And that's, you know, that's going to go for everything in here is how do we keep everything current. And those will be processes and procedures that will be defined.
Sounds like continual service improvement.
Exactly, yeah.
There you go.
Sounds exactly like that.
So we're running low on time, and there are a couple of features I wanted to at least expose you to because they appear quite mysterious. I'd like to introduce you to the notion of a service bundle, and a contract. Because those look very strange, and they're really very powerful. Could you bring up the ticket screen just fine?
Okay.
I had hoped to cover problem management with you today. I'm going to just instantly touch upon that, which is you define a problem, i.e. we don't have a generator in this building. There's a problem we all experienced very recently, okay? And or something like the recorder is glitchy and we fixed the recorder, but we have a lot of incidents out there related to that. You can resolve the problem and automatically close the incidents related to that problem. So you can take multiple incidents, relate them to one or more problems, work the problem, and then manage the incidents that way. So that's kind of coolness. So what I wanted to talk about, and this was really weird, Jim and I were like totally, what going on here with what do all these things do? And so I'm going to take our very primitive example, which is a printer. Okay, a printer is a piece of equipment. We have individual instances of printers. Those are configuration items. CMD, they're in the CMDB, you know. So, but on top of that, we could offer different services according to the printer. And my favorites are, we could change the paper, we could change the ink, we could service the hardware, we could service the connection to the printer. We could have all that. And that is a service, changing the paper, whatever. That stuff goes to something we do. A configuration bundle is something that is a collection of those services. Okay, so here's the cool part. Take our printer example. We change the paper, we change the ink in the thing, we do the hardware. Let's say that GSSE gets with us and go, you know, we have no competence in printers. In fact, one of our employees was injured quite recently changing the paper. She's severely lacerated with paper cuts. We'd like you to change the paper. And maybe that's a differential service that we're going to offer GSSE. And we're also going to change the ink. So GSSE gets a unique service bundle as part of what we do for them. Okay? As opposed to computer science, and they get just network connection service because they're real wizards with the hardware. So we can differentially offer services or combinations of services to our different departments, or we can offer one service to everybody. So remember earlier, I was talking about a contract that we make, okay, with are different departments. We may have one contract we do for all of school business, but in fact, we discussed why we don't, because they're different service levels. Okay, we can have different service bundles associated with the contract. We can provide service to one or more bundles or one or more services. And if we ever wanted to, we could actually charge differently for those services. And that's what this contract field means, okay? And that's what the service bundle means. It has financial implications if we were billing, but it also has implications to the level of our service. That's why those guys are there. And I think we're out of time. Any questions? Everybody's bored to death, wants to run away?
If you want to see anything more in depth, or have run through this again, please let me know. I'm more than happy to work with you and show you and answer any questions you have. I know we gave a quick high-level overview today, but anything that you've got, anything you want to know about what's going on, or if I can show you any tips or tricks, I'm more than happy to do it. And just kind of, like I said, I know that we kind of ran through it pretty quick today and probably missed a lot, but come see me. We can schedule some time, and I'll be more than happy to walk you through.
This is a small subset of what it does. And so our intent here is leverage our own technology for the folks who can't attend today. And we need your feedback as to what you want to offer, what you need in terms of presentation, and obviously you need the documentation. By the way, there are YouTubes all over the place on how this thing works. You can watch hours and hours of them.
They're awesome. I've seen almost all of them, and they're the best.
So at any rate, give us some feedback of what you need, especially as we go into the product. We could do a half an hour get together, and we're leveraging the cameras and stuff, so it doesn't have to be time bound. But if you let us know what you need, you let us know what the questions are, hey, we'll tailor these things to you and make sure you nail it, and then future generations of folks who do this can enjoy these presentations. Maybe we'll bring donuts next time, make it better. Anyway.
Crystal?
So in regards to the calendar, our team is very flexible, I guess, is the word that you would use. A lot of our stuff can be done not face-to-face, just remotely. And so our manager allows us to work remotely, so
Okay.
we don't always have an up-to-date calendar.
Okay.
Is that a requirement, or
No.
can you assign something to someone without
Yep.
knowing whether or not they're?
Yes, you can assign someone anything basically. The calendar is just it's just a tool to help make things run a little smoother. If we were to dispatch people to I guess we have a campus in Denver now. If we were to have to dispatch somebody down there, that's where that would come in handy. Say, we need to assign someone to be down there at 10 o'clock on Thursday to do this. That's where that would come in handy, or more of a requirement. But what I envision is, because a lot of time as a faculty support coordinator, that's kind of what I spend most of my time on so far. That's kind of what I understand the most. One of the issues that we have is we have a lot of appointments where we have to set something up or take something down. And right now we just send an invite out to the entire team. Well, we get so many meetings and you're just getting dinged every half hour that, when you get that information overload, it tends to fall through the cracks. And this is just a way to help avoid that. So we can look and say, okay, technician A is on the clock, B, C, and D are not. I'm not going to include the people that aren't on the clock. We're just going to include the people that are, and say, here's the appointment.
Anything else? Any other questions? Nope.
Cool. I think we're done.
Thanks, guys. Appreciate it. Donuts next time.